a programming language. So that too, it is especially on the object-oriented programming language. Obviously, you are having the different types of programming languages. So like structure-oriented programming language, like a functional-oriented programming language, and the object-oriented programming languages like a Java, C++. These all are the object-oriented. JavaScript structure-oriented, C structure-oriented. So there is advantages having in structure-oriented. There's advantages having in object-oriented. Like in a structure oriented like a C, reusabilities are not possible. But if you go for the object oriented, reusabilities are possible. You can able to once construct the logic, you can able to reuse them. So that's all about the another lot of advantages is there. That's okay. So if you go for the Java, so it's a programming language. You are going to be developing some software with the programming language. So let us say I do have something called as a Java. I want to develop an application. Assume I just used the core Java. So with just a core Java. So by using this core Java, what kind of applications you can develop is you can develop something like a standalone applications here. So like I can simply say standalone applications, the name itself representing. So those all are the installable applications I can say. So like those are dedicated to the system. So if you take any kind of a some kind of a games, I'm not talking about the online games. So in earlier we are using something called as we are purchasing some kind of a CD and we are installing that in our system and we are going to be playing that. So those kind of games. So if you see those kind of I can say game is also a kind of a software you are going to be installing in that particular system. So which means that game is dedicated to that particular system. Let us say some kind of a antivirus. So I want to install antivirus. The antivirus which I install that will only dedicatedly work for that particular system only. So those kind of softwares we are going to be calling as a just we are going to be calling as a standalone application. So that's what we're calling as a standalone applications. To develop these kind of applications, we are going to be using the core Java. To develop these standalone applications, we are using the core Java. So now once we are developing any kind of applications or anything, we need to store the data, right? First of all, if you observe here, if you take any project, if you take any domain, that may be a medical domain, that may be e-commerce domain, that may be a healthcare domain, that may be a life science domain, that may be a banking domain or anything, what Max you will do is the software itself means it is, I can say, it is all about three piece, dear. Three piece. So first one is the presentation. So you are going to be presenting some data. So there is some data is there you are going to be presenting. For example, there is some banking application is there. There is some data, the available balance or some kind of a outstanding balance, loan balance or everything. Some data is there that I'm going to be presenting. So second piece stands for the processing. Some data is there I need to process. Let us say some amount I'm having. So I just consumed some amount from my account. So now I'm having the remaining amount. So now I need to process the data. So what is the existing balance, all everything. I need to I'm going to be just to process the data. So that is nothing but three. Finally, persisting the data. Persisting stands for permanently storing the data. That's what. So if you take any software industry, the entire software industry depends on these three P's only: presenting, processing, persisting. So what you are going to be presenting, what you are going to be persisting, what you are going to be processing is it's all about a data, dear. Software itself a data. If you take a domain of the software, any domain of the software, it's all about this, depends on this three P's only. So you are going to be persisting the data, you are going to be processing the data, you are going to be presenting the data. So that's what. Similarly, here also, I developed an application. So I developed an application, I'm able to run my application. Now I want to store this data and I want to persist this data and I want to permanently store this data. So that's where we are having something like a JDBC we are going to be having. So with this, I'm just giving the quick overview here. So because to explain about the Spring, you need to understand a simple example here. Uh, so you guys having the little bit knowledge on, I can say, uh, let us say, okay, let us take some kind of Android mobiles or some kind of iOS mobiles. iPhone 15 current is iPhone 16. So why these people released the iPhone 16? Already we are having the iPhone 15. So why iPhone 16 is came into the picture?
Adding new features.
Adding new features, uh, adding some kind of a comfort, and
Yeah.
updating themselves, and maybe they fixes some bugs also. Am I right?
Yes.
So to give some comfort to the customers, so they given the 16 all those things. The similar way, so we are having the Java like a programming language, just a core Java we are having. So there is some enhancements going to be happening in a day-to-day industry. Because that the same way, if they're really satisfied with the core Java, they suppose they didn't introduce the servlets. If they're happy with the servlets and JSPs, so they suppose not introduce something called as struts. There is a one framework called as struts. If they're really satisfied with the struts, Spring suppose not to come into the picture. First of all, in which situation Spring come into the picture? What is the problems Spring going to be solving that one? So that's I want to discuss. That's the reason I'm going for the root levels. So that's this is how I'm going to be lead in any concept here. First, any concepts if you want to learn. So take my words. In the future, if you want to learn any framework or any library also, first think the necessity of that software. For example, I want to work with the Angular. What is the necessity of this Angular? Already I'm having the JavaScript. With the JavaScript also, I can able to perform the operation. Before Angular also, there is a single page application. A spy is there. I mean, single page application libraries is there. But why this Angular came to the picture? So if you want to understand that one, so you need to just look back. You don't need to be masters in that. You don't need to be go deeply. So just you need to be a little bit knowledge. Until unless if you don't have a little bit knowledge on that, you cannot able to you cannot able to understand what you are going to be understand what you are what. Yeah. So until unless you are not going to be the understand what happened before that one, so then you cannot able to understand that actual library and a framework. That's what I'm trying to hear. So here, so we are having the core Java. So with the core Java, we are going to be developing some JDBC applications. So with this JDBC application, we are going to be performing some kind of a database operations. Database operations. To perform this database operations, we are having the JDBC. So with this JDBC, you are going to be performing the database operations by using the Java. So okay, people are very satisfied and they are going to be working with standalone applications. But there is a limitation is there. So what are the limitations in the standalone applications here? They are dedicated to the system. So they are dedicated to the system and they are only in work in that particular system only. Generations got changed. So our grandfathers used the standalone applications. Our father generation was came here. Okay, for us we are the some kind of Gen Z kids, but those people, all for them, our fathers is a Gen Z kid. Generation got changed. They're expecting a more and more. So that's where they want to solve these limitations. So that's where they introduce something called as a servlets and a JSP. So there is a little bit deep evaluation is there, but I'm just combinedly telling. So then they introduce something called as a servlets and JSP. So what this servlets and JSP will do is they will help you to develop a web-based applications here. So if you want to develop any kind of a web-based applications, so we are going to be using the servlets and JSP. So by using the servlets and JSP, you are going to be developing the web-based applications. See, these are all depending upon the Java only. Let us say if you go for the .NET, they have their own kind of techniques. So let us say if you go for the .NET C Sharp by using to develop any kind of standalone applications by using the C Sharp they will use. So to develop any kind of web-based applications, MVC they are having. Similarly, here also to develop any kind of a web-based applications, we are having the servlets and JSP. To develop the standalone applications, we are having this core Java. So nothing but JSC we are going to be calling here. So Java Standard Edition. So JSC apps we will call. So this is a Java Enterprise Application, JEE we are going to be calling. So this is what we are going to be having. So even if you go for the any kind of a servlets and JSP also, ultimately if you want to store any kind of a data, again they will use the JDBC only. So, so only application development by using the web-based applications. But ultimately, if you want to store the data, JDBC will going to be involved in the picture. So this is what people will going to be using. So again, generation got changed. People are expecting more and more and more, so they're expecting a little bit comfort. So that's where first evolution was happen at a JDBC side. In a JDBC side, what happened is, so if anyone having the knowledge on the JDBC, there's a 5 standard steps you are having. What is that, dear? 5 standard steps we are having in a JDBC, like registering the driver, establishing the connection,
Load load the
creating the,
driver.
yeah, loading the driver or nothing but registering the driver,
Yes, sir.
and establishing the connection. And you need to give something called as statement or prepare statement, callable statement. Like if it is a standard queries statement you are going to be using. So if you want to go for something called if a dynamic parameters you want to pass, prepare statements you are having. If you want to execute something called as a like a stored procedures, callable statements you are having. So that's why you need to prepare that one, and you need to execute the statement, and you need to close the connection. So people who are happy, but they understand, okay, we are going to be using something called as a boilerplate coding, all those things. That is the first disadvantages in a JDBC. Second disadvantage is JDBC is dependent on the database side here. If you observe any kind of a JDBC program, if you want to communicate with any kind of a database, you are giving the entire query in your Java program, right? Have you observed? The entire
Yes, sir.
SQL query you are using in a JDBC program, like a prepared statement, in that you are going to be giving the query. So here what will happen is whatever the query you given, that is dependent for the database. So let us say I'm communicating with the Oracle. Oracle having some kind of a syntax. For example, do you guys know how we can see all the tables in Oracle? What is the query? Select a start from tab. If you want to see all the tables in a MySQL,
Articles.
show tables you are going to be using. See, syntax got changed. Oracle having some kind of a syntax, so MySQL having some kind of a syntax, both having the different kind of a syntax. So which means, so both your Oracle having the some different kind of a syntax, and your MySQL having some different kind of syntax. For example, I written the JDBC program earlier. I'm assuming working with the Oracle. Now my database got changed. Now again I need to change with the JDBC program, right? Am I correct or not? Do I need to change the JDBC program or not?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Definitely, because those queries we given in our JDBC program. So that is where JDBC is depending upon the database. If my database got changed, so I need to change the JDBC program also. I need to recompile, and I need to re-execute. So this is what observed by the people. So and there is some kind of some transaction management. So there is something is there, and definitely the transaction management is a very important concept here. So I'm going to be touching the transaction concept from the JDBC side onwards, because tomorrow I want to work with the Spring Data. Spring Data depending upon the some ORM tool, but ORM tool depending upon the JDBC. So there is a concept called the transaction management isolations. So we are having. So I don't want to just to like a by heart thing. So these are the isolations. I don't want to go like that. So definitely I am going to be discussing from the JDBC transaction onwards. So because I will touch the roads. Because once you understand the JDBC transactions, believe me, you can play with the Hibernate transactions, you can play with the Spring Data. You no need to worry about that also, because those all are the declarative transactions. So there's a programmatical transactions in the JDBC. Once you understand the programmatical transactions, you can simply work with the declarative transactions. Don't worry, I will give all the information. So what's the declarative transaction, what is the programmatical transaction? Because interview level, so definitely any sensible guy take an interview without touching the transaction, they will never close the interview. If they want to test the knowledge about the framework, definitely they will ask the what is the transaction management. That is a it's a kind of a thumb rule question. If you were attended any kind of a springboard, probably if anyone already attended any kind of interview, so definitely these questions you may face to explain about the transaction. So that's where to give a full-fledged knowledge on this transaction, I will start from the JDBC. So let it be. Maybe it will take another 2 hours going to be more. That's fine. You need to get the concept. Even if you know about the JDBC transaction also, that's fine. Not a problem. So that's where we'll touch the, believe me, we'll touch the grounds of this concept. We're going to be touch the grounds. We're going to be touch the scratch of every library, every concept of the Java. So then we are going to be going in depth of the Spring. So that's how I designed this course. So that's where. So in a JDBC, these all are the problems is there. So that's where people will actually introduce something called as a ORM concept, object relational mapping we are having. So with that ORM, you are going to be working with the database. Anyone hear about the ORM, dear?
Yes, sir. Object relational mapping. We are using that in servlet.
Yeah, object relational mapping. So very good. So what is the concept behind the ORM? Any idea?
We will going to connect our classes with their table, with the table. Like if there is the ID, that will be considered as the primary key of the table, which is in either in Oracle or might be using MySQL, whatever we are using.
Yeah, so basically, let me give a small taste about the ORM.
Yeah,
So
basically,
actually, ORM stands for the object relational mapping there. Here, what will the ORM tool will do is, hey developer, uh, database side, that is none of your business. You no need to worry about the database. I will take care about that. So whatever the code you want to write, you will write the Java code. I will convert into a that a SQL queries. I will going to be taking care about the database side. For example, if you use any kind of Hibernate or anything, so you are going to be open the session. So you will write only Java code only, session dot save, all those things, and you will just give that database connection parameters. So which database connection you want to connect and which table you want to connect. So that connection parameters only will going to be do. Remaining everything, the query creation, the submitting the query, everything is going to be taken care by the ORM tool. We are going to be taking care. We are having the different kind of ORM tools. Hibernate we are having, JPA we are having, and we are having something called as a my boss we are having. So different ORM tools we are having. So that's where your ORM tool will going to be taken care about the database operations. So it will just tell, hey developer, there is none of your business. You no need to worry about the database side. I will going to be taking care about that. You will just write the Java code. So what you want to, for example, in the ORM tool, so you need to create the session dot save. So that save method will internally connect with the database. It will going to be create the query and it will take care about the transaction. So you no need to worry about database. I'm going to be taking care about that. So here what will happen is every table in your database that will be represented in the form of the Java object. Now as a developer, you will not communicate with the database table. You will just communicate with the Java object. Whatever the operations you want to perform, you will perform on the Java object. So that will going to be communicate with the database table. So that is where ORM will going to be came to the picture. That is actual meaning of a ORM, object relational mapping. Your object will going to be mapped with the relational database. That is meaning of a ORM. So whatever the operation you will perform on the Java object. That operations will going to be replicated on the database side. Who will do this one? That is where your ORM will going to be taking care about this. So in this ORM side, we are having the most use is the JPA. Second one is something called as a Java Persistence API. So Hibernate we are having. And one good thing is Hibernate is the implementation of the JPA. If there is a no JPA, there is a no Hibernate. So I will going to be give how JPA was came to the picture, how Hibernate is going to be implementation. That's I will give. No need to worry. So just I'm going for the very high level overview I'm giving. So this is where ORMs came into the picture, dear. So this is where your ORMs came into the picture, like a JPS and Hibernate. So now developers are pretty happy. They no need to worry about the database changes in the future. Database change also because in Hibernates they are not going to be giving any kind of SQL queries. They are going to be working with the objects only. In a future database change also, you no need to worry. But if I use the JDBC, do I need to worry about the database or not?
yes.
Yes, sir.
So because JDBC is dependent on the
Dependent on database.
database. So because in the future my database changed, obviously I need to change my JDBC program also. But if I go for the ORM, I no need to worry. ORM will going to be taken care. That's where we are going to be in the dialects we are going to be having there. So there is some MySQL dialects we are having. Just you need to change the dialect. MySQL dialect, Postgres dialect, Oracle dialect you are having. You just need to change the dialect. Then automatically query construction will going to be happen with respect to that database. So now you no need to keep a much effort on the Java side. So just it will going to be taking care about this. So that's where people were actually happy with this ORM tool. So that is where an idea came to the picture. Okay, we reduce the burden on the JDBC side, but why can't we reduce the burden on something called a servlets and JSP side? So what is the problem in a servlets and JSP side is, if you see go for the servlets and JSP, these all are the raw components here. They don't have any kind of additional features. Whatever the code you want to write, everything as a developer you need to write. For example, you will write a servlet and you need to do some kind of a configuration and you need to write the some logic, nothing but extending the HTTP servlet, and you are going to use the do, get, do, post. In a future, if you want to perform something called as a other transaction management operations by the servlet, some kind of a challenges we are having. So that is where to solve particularly, dear, to solve particularly web-based application challenges, to solve only web-based application challenges, to give the comfort to the developer, they introduced a framework called as a Struts. They introduced here. Struts is a web framework. Remember, Struts is a web framework. So which means with this framework, you can develop only web-based applications only. You can develop only web-based applications only. By using the struts, you can develop Java web-based applications. So people are at that time people were happy and they are going to be using all the struts. So at that I can say at 2000s, 2001, 2002, at that era. So if you see, if you know the struts, come. So take the offer letter and join tomorrow onwards. So that's the kind of a demand in the market. Struts is like that. So people will going to be heavily use the struts. And there is some concepts. Even today also Spring Contability Manage, there is something called as message bins we are having here. So those message bins beautifully managed by the struts. So that's the reason even still also some companies use the struts like banking applications, big giant companies. So those will going to be still use the struts. But almost it is deprecated. Struts reach to the end of life. EOL we are going to be called. If any software reach to the end of life, I mean there is a no developments, there is a no enhancements, that will call as the EOL, end of life. So that's where so struts framework will actually reach the end of life. Whenever I think about the struts, I always remember about a company called Nokia, dear. Have you seen the Nokia mobiles?
Yeah, my father used to be.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what about now? Is anyone people using?
No, everyone is using smartphones.
Okay. Even Nokia also having some smartphones.
I don't know.
Nokia smartphones were having there 5501, 6600, that we will call uh, Bungie mobile. But somehow, if you see the while Nokia is going to be shutting down their operations in India, still it is running on the Taiwan. But they just given a statement by the Nokia CEO John Fenn. That still I remember that one. The same thing applied for the Studs also. So because for Nokia they didn't do anything wrong. So this is what the statement given by the Nokia CEO. We didn't do anything wrong. Somehow we lost. The Microsoft mobiles were having, Nokia Microsoft mobiles were having. But they you don't have any Android mobiles and a Nokia. But now we are having the C01, C02, but now it is almost over the period. So the same thing was happened for the Studs also. They didn't do anything wrong, but Studs people didn't upgrade it. So they only attached it for the web-based applications only. By using the Studs, you can develop only web-based applications only. That's what actually Spring capture the market. What they did is, boss, if you want to develop any kind of application, like if you want to develop a web-based application, if you want to develop a database operations, if you want to develop a standalone applications, if you want to develop some kind of a RESTful applications, if you want to develop a web services, if you want to develop some kind of integrations, I'm going to be taking care about thing. So whatever you want, you name it, you have it. You name it, you will have it. So that is where Spring came into the picture. Our hero entered in that moment. So because as Struts was only supporting for the web-based applications, why can't we go beyond? So that's where Spring came into the picture. So Spring is the application framework. So remember, Spring is the application framework. So if you see, your Struts is a web framework, which means you can develop only web applications only. That framework only supports for the web application development only. But Spring didn't bounded for that. Spring actually implemented in a application oriented. So if you want to develop any kind of a standalone applications, yes, sir, we are having the convenient for that. If you want to develop any kind of a web-based applications, yes, sir, Spring MVC is there. You can take that. If you want to develop some kind of a web services, yes, sir, Spring REST is there. Spring SOAP is there. If you want to develop some kind of a JDBC operation, Spring JDBC is there. Spring Data is there. Spring JPA is there. Spring Hibernate is there. And if you want to work with the NoSQL operations like MongoDB, all those things, yes, sir, Spring NoSQL also is there. If you want to work with the Spring integrations, like if you want to send some kind of emails or all those things, Spring integrations also is there. If you want to develop some kind of reactive applications, yes, Spring Reactive is also there. If you want to develop microservices, so if you don't want to use any kind of servers also, yes, we are having the Spring Boot also, boss. You no need to go for any kind of external servers also. We are having the embedded servers itself. That's where Spring was actually captured the market. So that's how Spring become a leader in that one. So by using the Spring, what you can do is you can develop anything. You can name it, you can have it. So if you want to develop a standalone applications, yes, Spring will support. If you want to develop a web-based applications, yes, Spring will support. If you want to develop a JDBC applications, yes, Spring will support. If you want to develop a ORM operations, yes, Spring will support. If you want to develop any kind of a web-based applications or RESTful applications or SOAP web services, yes, Spring will going to be support. Spring will going to be giving beyond your expectations. And now Spring you will going to be involved in the AI also. You can develop AI applications also. So if you just see Spring AI also introduced. So you can able to use the generative AIs, everything, whatever you want to do. So you can able to use this one. So I will give some kind of some interesting concept on this. So I will have a plan to conduct some kind of a workshop on this. So I will give what's the meaning of a AI. So just a taste of this Spring AI also I'm going to be giving. So everything we are going to be giving. Now tell me, dear, there is a three options. Let us say you want to cook a biryani. You want suppose you want to you have a you got a craving to eat a biryani early morning. Don't expect a biryani. Maybe some people will have it, but you got a craving to eat a biryani. Three options you are having. I will give all the raw ingredients. The raw ingredients I'm going to be giving, like I will give a basmati rice, I will going to be giving the chicken, I will going to be giving all the masalas, everything raw ingredient. So you need to take that one, you need to cook that one. Or second option is instant masala cooking. So they will give they will going to be add all those things, and you can able to cook that one. So instant that one. Third option is put all this head, open the app and order that one. Which you will prefer?
Order.
Cooking yourself.
Order, I think order that one.
That's what Spring was giving
Instant
to you.
sense.
That's what Spring is giving to you. So if you go for the regular programming languages like Java, all those things like a JSC, so you need to write every code, every bit of code. That is nothing but all ingredients you are having. So whatever the application you will develop with the Spring framework, you can develop with the plain servlets and JSP, you can develop with the plain code Java also. So that is everything we're going to develop with that also. But it is all about the raw ingredients. You need to cook it yourself. You need to take care about all the management. If you go for some kind of instant mix like a struts, all those things that have limitations, because if you go for the instant mix, you can't able to judge what is the taste of that one, because they will give the generic way. So maybe some people will going to be make some kind of a spiciness, all those things, some kind of effort you need to keep. Again, if you go for the struts framework, some kind of effort you need to keep. But if you go for the Spring application, you just name it, you can have it. That's it. No need to worry on that. So it will going to be taking care about this. And that too, Spring will going to be help you to develop a meaningful application. So for example, if you want to develop a web-based application, if you go for the servlets and JSP, you may follow the design patterns or not. So there is some kind MVC design patterns you are having. So you may follow, you may not follow, because everything in your hand. You can write the entire code in a single servlet itself. You can develop everything in a servlet without following any kind of a standards. But if you go for the Spring framework, it will guide you. Hey boss, write all the business logic in a controller, write all the presentation logic in a sum view. So that's how it will guide you. So not only it will help you to reduce on the burden of the development, it will guide you to develop how you can develop application in a industry standard. It will help you to develop a productive application. So that's where your Spring framework will going to be gain the market. So that's the reason we are going to be working with the Spring application. So yeah, believe me, even if you don't have any knowledge also, if you don't have a servlets, if you don't have knowledge on the JSP, if you don't have anything, if you just to know the core Java, Just to open the Spring documentation, go for the Hello World application. You can simply develop that one because that's kind of a comfort. Even a 10th class guy also, the people who can understand the English language and who have a basic knowledge on the core Java, so they can just follow the step-by-step concepts in JDB, that Spring documentation. You can develop a web-based application. It will guide you and it will give ease of development. So that's where your Spring framework will actually help you to develop any kind of application in a ease of manner. So that's where your Spring got the market. But if you just learn the Spring concepts, you will just become a user only, dear. You will never become a developer. Honestly telling, if you just directly started the Spring framework, you will become just a user only, because there's a difference between the user and the thing. A simple example. Let us say I purchased a car, dear. I'm driving, I'm using the car, but some repair came to the picture. I can't able to repair that one because I'm not a mechanic. I need to take to the garage. Garage I need to take and I need to give that one. That guy will know. That guy will going to be drive, and that guy will going to be repair also. So here, if you use the Spring framework without having this knowledge on the servlet JSP, without having the JDBC, you can happily develop an application the Spring. You're just a user, but tomorrow something goes wrong. Can you able to fix that one? Definitely, it is a little bit difficult. But if you have a knowledge on some basic knowledge on the something like a core Java, so then you can become a developer. So that's the reason a little bit knowledge on the core Java definitely you need. So you don't need to be a master. If you have a basic knowledge on the core Java, that is sufficient. Remaining things I will take care about this. So when I'm starting some kind of a web-based application, I will give some kind of a context of the servlets and JSP. Then I'm going to be starting about the this Spring web-based applications. So there is something called as, if you want to starting about the Spring data, I will give some context about the JDBC. I will give some context about the ORM2 like a Hypernet. So then I'm going to be starting at the Spring data. So that's so step by step I'm going to be going that one. But to get to that kind of a leverage, at least you have a knowledge on the basic knowledge on the core Java. So why? Because here I don't require any kind of I mean, a number of people are. We don't need, because even for a small amount of people also, I want to give the effectiveness of the subject. Definitely. So without having this core Java knowledge, you cannot able to step into the Spring framework, dear. So straight away I'm telling. So because to gain the all these market strategies, I don't know that market strategies. Without having core Java, also you can try this thing. I don't want to give that kind of a bluff. Whatever the reality is, I'm just going to be telling. Definitely, you need to have a knowledge on the core Java. So without, you don't need to be a master. Again, I'm telling. You don't need to know about the Java 8 features like a Lambda functions, all those things you don't need to aware. So a decent knowledge about the core Java, definitely you need to know. So how you can write a Java program, how you can execute a Java program, how you can use the OOPS concepts. So what is an interface? What is an abstract class? What is the method overloading? What is the method overriding? So all those things you need to aware. So if you know that, so happily you can able to start the journey about the Spring application framework. So that is where Spring came into the picture. And again, after Spring, Spring people is not compromised. They released something called as a Spring Boot. They released Spring Boot. They released. So there is a slight difference between the Spring and a Spring Boot. So what is the difference between the Spring and Spring Boot? How Spring will going to be help you? How Spring Boot will going to be help you? Which scenario will go for the Spring and Spring Boot? And first of all, what is this microservice? When you are going to be using this microservices, what is the purpose of the microservices? Before microservices, how people will going to be develop any application? So how these guys will going to be for that, you need to have a knowledge on the architecture based. Remember one thing, microservice is not a framework. Microservice is not a technology. Microservice is not a programming. Microservice is an architecture. So there is some kind of architecture designing is there. So you need to understand. So what is the before architectures we are having? How people were migrating their application to the microservices, all those things. For that's the reason to understand that one, even to start the thing also, first will I'm going to be starting the Spring. So first we are going to be developing the web-based applications. So then we are going to be developing the microservices. So then Spring Cloud, then Spring Security. So then we are going to be deploying. So the step by step we are going to be going, because without knowing the before scenarios, it's a little bit challenging to understand what is the meaning of a microservices, all those things. That's the reason, step by step, it's a, like a thread by thread here. So everything we are going to be pinching one thread to another thread, and we are going to be um, collecting and connecting into like a garland. So the same way, step by step, we are going to be going up. So that's where, what is the purpose of the Spring and how we are going to be working with the Spring Boot. What is the necessity of the Spring? What is the necessity of the Spring Boot? So what is the actual, the buzzword of this microservice? Everywhere, if you hear in industry, they will ask you, what do you know microservices? Do you have experience on the microservices? So that buzzword we are going to be break. So what is the purpose of the microservices? How easily you can develop a microservice with the Spring Boot? What is the necessity of these microservices? All those things we are going to be discussing. So I don't want to give a much pressure on the day one itself. So we are going to be just to have a break, and we are going to be discussing what is the purpose of the microservices, how easily you can develop a microservices by in the Spring Boot, and what is the necessity of the Spring Boot. So that's we are going to be discussing on the tomorrow session. And yeah, so any questions or anything respecting?
Yeah, Harsha, this is Silas. I joined little late, so I didn't join early, so I just missed out the starting introduction.
Yeah, no worry. Just given
Yeah,
the
that's okay. So
uh,
I have one questions regarding this ORM tools. Suppose if we are writing any procedure, any function, else we are writing any multiple join query. So can we able to achieve those scenario in ORM?
so there is a mapping scissor, one-to-one mapping, many-to-many mapping scissor. So
Uh-huh.
that's with that you can able to achieve.
Yeah,
So
those
there
things
is
I know.
a
What about the procedure and functions, those things?
procedures and functions. So in a session management, in a Hibernate session management, you can inject that stored procedures also, but
Okay.
change will going to be happen. How you are going to be deal with the regular queries and stored procedure queries, little bit change will going to be happen. So here we will use the declarative stored procedure managers. So annotations, nothing but so those annotations will going to be give. So that thing we are going to be expanding on that. One example I will going to be give on that. No worry.
Okay, yeah. And one more thing, can you able to cover how to deploy those products, those applications into the production environment? How do you use that one? Like AWS, anything, Kubernetes. Just you can give me a little bit idea about that.
We are have the Docker segment also. Deployment also I'm going to be
Uh,
showing. No worry.
you
Yeah,
have that,
end
no?
to end. And one thing, once you guys reach to the mid of this course, parallelly I'm running the Angular and React also. Those people also will going to be almost come to end. So I will combine you people and those people. I will conduct a workshop. End-to-end
Uh,
application flow I'm going to be show. That is
correct.
usually I will going to be show, because how UI will going to be, what is the roles of the UI developer, what is the backend developer, how deployment going to be happen. So end to end
Mm.
flow I'm going to be showing. So in that workshop you will get gain all this knowledge.
And for testing, unit testing, something like that, also you will cover that one.
Unit testing, that is same only dear. If you need, I will connect a session. It's a simple 1 hour class only. So that's I
Uh-huh.
can tell on you. No worry on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what will the next after Spring Boot? Just like starts the end of the era. Then what will the next about?
Sorry.
What is the next after Spring Boot? Because you told already, no, starts is end of the era. So if sometime Spring also will end of their life. So what will the next one? AI will be next.
That next thing also already captured by the Spring. So Spring AI is already it's captured.
Yeah.
So see, it's all depends upon the how efficient. For example, everyone
Mhm.
using the Android. What is the next Android means? Because Android is not giving a chance to next, right?
Correct.
It is sustaining. Similarly, Spring is not giving a chance. It's sustaining. AI, it is a Spring ML we are having, Spring AI we are having. Everywhere it is going to be involved.
So Spring AI is still in the market. They starting working on that Spring
Some
AI.
applications were, but not effectively. Some applications. In my current project, we introduced a Spring AI.
Okay.
So we are doing some bits and pieces, but there are some awesome features we are having. The regular Python AI is doing not able to do something data crawling. Spring AI is doing. So there is some performance also we are enjoying with the Spring AI.
So you are providing those any courses for Spring AI
I
respect
will
of
give an
that?
introduction there. Don't I mean don't uh, go for this bloom.
Okay, okay,
I
sorry.
will give
Yeah.
you some introduction. So then you can able to do that one. So you can see how my thing is there. So here my funda is only one thing. So let us say today Spring some a new module is there. You suppose not to look back who is teaching in Amirpet that new module. You need to be in a stage. So it's self-learning. So that's what I'm trying to make here. All the core concepts of first of all, what is the Spring? If you know the Spring core module, if you know the this concepts of the Spring web is a core module for any Spring module. So Spring REST, Spring, all those things. Once you cover, you no need to look back. So who is going to be teaching all those things? You can able to learn your own self. That's what I'm trying to making here. So once we touch the grounds of your Spring framework, you don't need to worry. So you can able to self learn all those things also. So that's thing I'm going to be guiding here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, Rakesh.
Uh, Sir, I do have two questions. Sir, will you please provide us the content that you're going to guide us throughout this course, sir?
Yeah, tomorrow I'm going to be discussing because I will what is the concepts I'm going to be covering and what is the time line, all those things I'm going to be discussing. That the detailed discussion I'm going to be give tomorrow.
Okay, sir, one more question is like, in the meantime, what should we supposed to complete, Spring, or what we can do in the meantime, sir, while you're going to take the classes?
Nothing. So just you need to have a knowledge on the core Java. That's it.
For Spring, okay, sir. Thanks.
Spring I will cover. First
Okay,
I
sir.
will start the Spring only. Then I will start the Spring Boot.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm sorry. I forgot to introduce myself. How can I introduce? I mean, previously also I given the batches, but almost 4 months I didn't give the batch because of some health issues. Now I'm able to come back. Yeah. So myself, I'm Harshavardhan. I'm working as a solution architect in one of the FANG company only. Probably you guys know about what is a FANG company. Now it is a MANG company. So yeah. So that's what. And my experience is a solution architect uh, for this technical training. I have been almost I don't tell I will be not 10 years 15 years. I just have a technical experience of this training. So as a solution architect I'm almost having the 10 plus years experience, but for this technical training I have a 4 plus years experience, almost 4 years I'm dealing with technical trainings, all those things. Yeah. And coming to uh, so that's what a simple introduction. I done my BA in IIT Kharagpur. That's it. A simple introduction about myself. That's it. So, any other questions? Yeah. So day one itself, I don't want to give a much thing knowledge on the Java. That is a core Java. That's you need to know. That's it. That's what. And we'll catch you tomorrow. So we'll see the course content is our roadmap. What I'm going to be discussing. What you guys are going to expect, and what the this is everything is a practical learning here. By end of this, you will be in the stage of developing a project. So this is everything is a project oriented. So we are going to be developing a small project also by end of this course. So step by step we are going to be going. I mean, project means don't expect the industry oriented like e-commerce application, all things. A small project like user management application, all those things you are going to be developing. And the day by day code is also shared. And I'm going to be reviewing your code also. So that's where I'm going to be suggesting. So maintain your GitHub repositories, all those things. I will guide you. So that's because everything is a practical oriented. So that's I'm going to be discuss in deeper. So what is the things and how our journey looks like. So how many days of this journey. So that's I'm going to be giving on a tomorrow session. Thank you. Have a good day. Any questions before winding?